Hello, dearest listeners. Thank you for tuning in to Pod on the Cob, your favorite podcast about movies and corn and the wonderful union of the two on the big screen. My name is Stephanie, and I am here with my wonderful co-host, Tyler.
Hail to the man behind the rose, he who walks behind the rose. Can you call me Tyler? Can we not call me Tyler? Can we call me like Malachi or Mordecai? I need like an really
M
biblical
name.
sounding name.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or an M name. Yeah.
An M name. Tyler, this is episode 7 of Pod on the Cob. Can you believe it? It's hard to believe.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It feels like it simultaneously feels like we've done a lot more, and I guess we've done like bonus episodes and stuff. And yet it also feels like we're still little baby infants crawling around in our diapers. We're almost like children.
Oh my god. So, Tyler, what movie are we talking about today?
We've been teasing it a little bit here and there, and we've been mentioning that we were eventually going to go back into this franchise. It's the franchise that started it all, going back to our very first episode of Pot on the Cob. Today we are covering 1992's Children of the Corn, Part 2, The Final Sacrifice, perhaps the least accurate title of a movie in the existence of cinema. Couldn't be more wrong. There's like 15 more of these for us to cover after this one.
Yeah, honestly. It's probably 15.
It is directed by David Price, and it's starring a bunch of big A-list names. Terrence Knox, Paul Scherer,
Wow.
Ryan Bowman, and Christy Clark. So just a few household names. You know, we all remember the first time we saw Ryan Bowman in something, you know, where we were. Big part of everyone's childhood, you know. So no, literally I looked up all these actors on Letterboxd, and this is the vast majority of them, this is their biggest movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Right on. Hey, we watched it, all hour and a half of it.
Yeah, was it? So, okay, I watched it on Pluto TV.
Good for you.
And it had about 900 commercial breaks, so it felt like it was a 9-hour movie for me.
You know, Tyler, I paid $3.99 to watch this movie of my hard-earned cash, so it was commercial free, but was it worth it? I don't know.
Maybe that was the final sacrifice.
Yeah, it was it was the final $3.99 that I had left in my bank account.
All right, David Price, you owe us $4, you bastard.
I'm ready to get that check in the mail, David.
Listen, you know, we've got a lot to talk about with this one. But before we do, you know, why don't you just quickly let people know what's the elevator pitch of what the final sacrifice is all about?
Immediately following the horrifying events in Gatlin, Nebraska, the neighboring town of Hemingford generously takes in the surviving children, attracting national media attention. It soon becomes clear that he who walks between the rows isn't confined to the borders of Gatlin. With a new leader appointed, the cult of children take up their homicidal ways once again. Death, horror, journalism, racist stereotypes, and awkward teen romance abound. You may even find yourself asking, will this really be the final sacrifice?
All of that is true. It's like the racist stereotypes, the awkward teen romance. Okay, so I did look it up. The over-sexualized young female lead in this, she's over 18. So at the very least, we don't have to talk about horrible exploitation of a minor, which is what I thought we were going to be talking about during this. But still, I mean, without giving anything away, this is a piece of work. There is both a lot to talk about with this and almost nothing to talk about with this. It's essentially Children of the Corn all over again, with shockingly even less interesting characters, with one big exception, which we'll talk about later on. And yet at the same time, it has a lot of things that aren't in Children of the Corn that I really wished were in Children of the Corn. So obviously we're going to recap this entire thing. We're going to talk about it scene by scene. There's going to be a lot of things I'm just going to be kind of glazing over, like, because there's not a whole lot to say about it. But before we do, we usually like to talk about like our history with the movie before we, dive in. Mm-hmm. Like, but it's a little different this time around because I have my history with this. Everyone has seen unfold on this podcast. Mm-hmm. I have no history with this sequel. I haven't seen any of the Children of the Corn sequels. And you all have basically joined me in my journey of watching these movies.
Yeah, I think, and I'll share for myself, but I feel like somewhat comfortable speaking for Tyler a little bit too when I say, like, what you're hearing / maybe watching is like a beautiful blooming flower of our discovery of Children of the Corn, and all that it entails. I'm
glad you're speaking for me on this. I'm really
You're welcome. Every sequel, every remake, every short story that we didn't read, and but it's, if you haven't heard the episode 1 of Pod on the Cob, which is the first Children of the Corn, and you haven't really heard us say that, like, this kind of sparked our inspiration to start a podcast. We've always loved talking about movies and kind of just like getting into, I don't know, weird tangents and nitty gritty stuff that interests us. And I don't know, it was like, the thing that we thought was funny was like corn and movies, and what better movie / franchise to latch onto than Children of the Corn, I guess.
I guess I'll just add and say that in my mind, even if everyone stops listening to this, even if the podcast kind of loses steam, even if you and I get too busy, I have every intention of reviewing every Children of the Corn movie, right? And to me, the job won't be done until we've recorded an episode for every Children of the Corn. And that's why we are, just for people who are wondering, because we've had people reach out to us and they're like, well, just do the whole series, like just do all of them, And I'm like, my answer to that is like, we're purposefully spacing this out because we really like doing this podcast. And I'll be sad the day that we're out of Children of the Corn movies to review, even if my opinion of them may waver. I still can't wait to cover them all, So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Should we jump right in? Children of the Corn 2, The Final Sacrifice?
It certainly is the final sacrifice, right? Yeah, let's jump right in, because right off the bat, our podcast is well represented. It's corn in the first second of the movie, which I just
was your heart warmed?
Yeah, I love when the first note in my notebook is corn. That
oh my
makes
gosh,
me so happy.
Me too.
Yeah, wonderful. Immediate. My first note, I always like my first bullet point. I think I'm going to start reading my first bullet point verbatim from now on, because it's always that first thing you feel. So my first bullet point I wrote for the story was immediate corn, immediate poor production quality.
Okay. Okay, so on that note, you want to hear my first bullet point?
Yes.
Open to weird cornfield animation / images and credits, and cornfield was underlined, so
that's good. Yeah, and that's also accurate. It's like a Sergio Leone movie starting with the weird like cutouts of the corn.
Yeah, I was like, are these pictures? Is this art? Like, what am I seeing? What am I witnessing?
One of the running jokes of the first episode, for those of you who haven't listened to it or haven't heard it for a long time, was Stephanie constantly wondering, was this in theaters? Was this a TV movie? This one was in theaters. So was the first one. And again, it's just shocking that this was played in theaters.
I'm actually shocked. I didn't even think to look it up because I literally just assumed that
I did look it up.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, wow.
This is the last one until 2023.
That was in theaters?
That was in theaters.
Okay. That's crazy. So the first one must have been enough of a success that they're like, let's put the sequel out there.
I've got some numbers on that. So the first one, it made a really good profit, actually.
Okay.
So it made around 15 million box office off a budget of anywhere between 800,000 and 3 million. I know it's a huge gap, but I've seen sources that cite both of those numbers. This made a lot less than that.
Wow. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
And it was made for, again, a pretty variable number, but basically around the same amount-ish.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay, so fade to Not Scary Farm maze.
Man walking down into a basement. Just the light of his like flashlight. So just the flashlight beam kind of scanning this dark basement, and he sees a bunch of dead bodies, just like a series of dead bodies. And do they have corn on them?
I wrote a note in this. I wrote a note in my notebook that says there's corn in every single scene of this movie.
Okay,
So I'm going to assume there's corn in there because
cool.
I literally think corn is in every scene of this movie.
Beautiful. We love this. It cuts right to like this news segment, which, I mean, I'm just gonna say it was actually my favorite part of the whole movie. This like news segment. It's kind of like the actual footage of they're recording for the news, so it's showing him, the reporter, telling the story, but then it's also like it's not when it's cut, it's not like cut, it's just showing the behind the scenes or whatever. And I thought that was pretty fun. I sent, just before we started recording, I sent Tyler like a sticker. You can do like the stickers on iPhone, and I like took a screenshot of a clip from this news scene, and it was like the best quote. How did I not write the quote down? It was something like,
I have it written down. I wrote it down last night when we were watching it.
Okay,
what is this shit about the corn?
What is this shit about the corn? Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
And then of course the kids are they're kind of showing in the news footage, they're showing the kids who committed all the murders from the first movie. And they keep saying, I saw the corn. I saw the corn. They saw the corn.
They're in line for a bus, or getting off the bus.
I think they're getting into a bus.
Yeah, they're getting into the bus. So the news segment is set in Gatlin, and all the kids, there's no grown-ups because obviously they were all murdered. And all the kids are getting bussed over to the neighboring town, which I definitely remember is called Hemmingford. And they're being bussed right over to Hemmingford, and basically the next scene is Hemmingford, right?
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I'm embarrassed at how confused I was during this movie, because I was already like a little confused of like, are they in Gatlin still? Or are they in a new place? And like, why are they adopting? Because basically what we find out is that the residents of Hemmingford adopt the murderous children of Gatlin.
Yeah,
because that's how it works. That's how the law works.
Of course.
So they're adopting these kids, and we're kind of learning all of this through news footage, but it's a little disorienting.
It is.
Yeah, the intro of this is super disorienting because they're showing you three separate things at once. They're showing you news footage. It's also focusing on these two reporter characters, these two guys that are doing this like news footage. And then there's also the fact that like all the things that are actually happening in Hemmingford. And then they also are showing the two sweatiest humans on the planet driving a car to Hemmingford. Our main character and his son are driving to Hemmingford, and they're just sweating. They're really just beads of sweat on their foreheads.
Like in all definitions of like saying they're sweating, like they're sweating. There is strife between these two. There's they tell us a lot in the first like several, honestly, like the first 5 minutes of the movie. You learn a lot. And basically this dad is like left this kid was born to like teenage parents, and the dad left because he was like, I was 17, I didn't know anything. And the kid is like super like bitter about it, and there's just like a lot of strife, and they're just like butting heads about everything.
And the reason we know that this is happening, just to give the viewers a little context, is because the dialogue is things like, "You left when I was young." Yeah, I did. I had to follow my dreams. But because you followed my dreams, I didn't have a dad. That's right. When a dad isn't around, you don't have a dad. Like they're literally just like saying things to each other as if they are. As if they have the scripts on their laps. Like it's so. These are our two main characters, by the way.
Yes.
So we are in. It kicks off a continuing trend in the Children of the Corn film franchise of
Yes.
unlikable protagonists in cars
Okay.
driving and arguing.
Which we can respect some continuity here, right?
I love it. It's consistent at least.
So we back in town in Hemmingford, we find out that like not all the townspeople really agree on the best way to kind of handle this situation. There's this old lady in particular who she makes a scene and she really doesn't want these kids in her town.
I wonder why. I can't imagine why.
She won't accept them into her home. Turns out her husband walked into the cornfield and never came out. So
15 years ago.
Yeah, so he was killed like by the corn.
I guess they never ever tell you. So it doesn't even matter. Also, sticking with our disorienting footage, then some of these plot lines start to like come together.
Yep.
Where like our main character, Sweaty Dad, we find out that he's a journalist. He's like a tabloid journalist.
Yes.
And he knows the reporters that are doing the footage in Hemmingford. And they like make fun of him. They like know who he is. Like they make fun of him and say that he's a hack. Yeah. And then they drive away. And he ends up in Hemmingford and starts meeting like the citizens of Hemmingford.
Yeah.
Specifically, I don't know anyone's names in this. That is going to be a big problem for the review. But he specifically meets the owner of a bed and breakfast with a horrible bowl cut. And her newly adopted
love her bowl cut?
And her mushroom head, and her newly adopted Children of the Corn son Micah, who she's taking in, and he's gonna go stay at their. He's immediately like, "Ooh, I'm gonna investigate this story of the murderous children, and I'm gonna stay at this hot lady's bed and breakfast."
Of course. Because what else would you do?
Exactly, and then so this kicks off for me one of the big problems with the movie, which is the horrible clash of tones and pacing. Because while he's like casually sort of talking to people in the town and talking to the woman who owns the bed and breakfast, we're also getting a parallel scene that it keeps snapping to.
I love
of
this
the
scene.
two. Me too. Of the two lost reporters getting like literally attacked by the cornfields, which is amazing.
The corn.
It's amazing.
So they like just got through insulting the Sweaty Dad, who his name is John, but like whatever. Sweaty Dad makes more sense. And they were driving and there's nothing but cornfields, right? This is the Midwest that Tyler and I have never been to. Just kidding. We've both been there.
Turns out, we found out, we've both been there.
And they're like, we got to get a shot of this corn. So they pull over to kind of get some shots. I don't know, film people. I forget what those shots are called, where you're like setting the scene or whatever.
Establishing shots.
Look at you and your knowledge.
Look at me.
So they get out of the van and they're like, we got to get these shots of the corn. And yeah, like Tyler said, they literally just get murdered by the corn, which is like kind of rad.
It's really rad. And I'm not critiquing that because that was amazing. What I'm critiquing is it continuously snapping back to casual things happening as this is happening. It makes the scene feel like a comedy. It makes it feel like you're watching like Naked Gun or like Airplane or something. You don't feel like you're watching a horror movie because it's like la da 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 da. We're in Hemmingford talking to the lady with the sexy, bed and breakfast shirt on, and then it's like a guy's throat getting slit by a corn leaf. And like, it's just like, oh my god, what emotion am I supposed to be feeling right now? I'm so uncomfortable.
I also want to kind of call out something that references back to episode 1 as well, that I was extremely pleased to see brought back for part 2 of the movie, which was the corn POV shots. Tyler, what did you think?
Yes. These are almost even, maybe these are better, the POV shots, because they're awesome.
And because your qualm with them in the past was that you know who's watching and it's the kids.
Right.
But this time,
I didn't know.
Is it the corn?
See, so of course you assume it's going to be he who walks behind the rose, right? But we don't know. We don't know if it's really going to be he who walks behind the rose. And for those of you who don't know who that is, he who walks behind the rose is like in the first movie, the like supernatural villain that all the kids are worshiping, right? Ostensibly, that creature was destroyed in the first movie. Was it really destroyed? I honestly don't know the answer to that, even after watching this movie. I think the answer is no, but I guess we'll find out as we keep doing the synopsis. But the POV shots are cool. They're like very 90s, very like 90s, like they look like an old video game or something. They're great.
Or like an old music video or something.
Yeah. Like really oversaturated black, white, and red, color graded, like thermal looking footage or something. It's cool. Then a guy gets a corn stalk through the chest and dies, one of the reporters, and it's great.
Yeah, it really is. And then, but don't worry, we flash over right back to sweaty dad and kid, John and Danny Garrett.
Yeah. Danny's a very 1990s kid main character name, Danny.
Yes, and they get in a fight, wah wah, it's so sad. Danny's like, I've had it, I'm leaving. I don't care, we're in the middle of nowhere. I'm gonna go find the nearest bus stop. I'm gonna wait for the soonest bus, and I'm just gonna get out of town.
And then a pair of boobs drive up on a scooter.
A pair of boobs and a super, super long head of hair.
And listen, I'm not making fun of this girl. I'm not making fun of this actress. She's fine. But they get that I'm making that joke is at the expense of the people who made this movie, not at her. She is super over-sexualized and has nothing else going on. Like, she is devoid of character.
In my notes, I wrote, Mega Babe rolls up on a motorbike.
Yep. That's about right.
They meet at the bus stop. She basically tells the kid, hey, there's no buses coming. And obviously he's infatuated.
Yes.
So, easy. That was written in the stars.
Did you think it was funny how active the area around Gatlin is in this movie versus how barren and empty it was in the first one, where it's there's nothing around Gatlin at all? And in this one, Hemingford is kids riding around on scooters and a whole bustling community, and it's weird to me that the people in Hemingford haven't been aware of what's going on in Gatlin this whole time.
I know. It's guys, it's just a cornfield separating you two. You're not that far away.
This movie connects really poorly to the first one in almost every way other than the very basics.
Yeah, and even then it's okay, because there's children and there's corn.
Pretty much. Yeah. That's totally fair.
Again, we've been kind of talking about how things are kind of confusing. I was confused too through a lot of this. No, and I was fully trying to be okay, I'm following, and then I'd be what? So this next
We're gonna
scene...
get some stuff later on that for me I was I'm still confused about, and I read the Wikipedia, so I can't wait to get there.
Okay. Well, there's corn dimensions in the next scene, and we kind of cross dimensions. So this kid is running into the cornfields looking for the other cult followers.
It's Micah. It's the one that was adopted by the bed and breakfast.
It's Micah, and I mean he's looking for Isaac or any other followers, right?
Yeah, he looks like Elliot Smith
from the other movie, and he falls or he gets attacked, and then there's corn electricity on his body, and then he starts falling endlessly into what I can only assume is just interdimensional space.
Yeah. Or a screensaver, like a screensaver from a computer from the 90s.
Yeah, okay, so one in the same. Screensaver in interdimensional space.
Micah, the angsty kid, he gets attacked by something. It's the same POV shot we saw that attacked the reporters. And then we go to a scene of some of the children are gathering in the cornfield, and they're talking about what their next steps are going to be, whether or not they need to keep following the words of Isaac, the antagonist from the first movie, what their new purpose is going to be. They're feeling kind of lost. And then Micah comes out of the cornfield and he's different. His eyes are a little different.
He's all confident.
Yeah, he's obviously possessed. He's obviously been possessed by something. He's not himself, although we've had no time to really get to know this character anyways. And he comes out and basically in so many words, we're going to go back to killing adults again. The movie, that's the plot. He basically says the plot of this movie is going to be, we're going to kill adults. And then...
And corn.
And corn.
So we can
Yeah.
all breathe easy because there's going to be plenty of corn.
Thank God.
Yeah, so Micah catches up to Danny, right? The reporter's kid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and kind of like, I don't know how to put it. He kind of is like adults suck, right? Like
Yeah.
you're having problems with your dad. Like you're a kid. Like people turn 18 or he's like people turn 19 and they just think they know everything or whatever. Trying to kind of persuade him, I guess, into
Yeah.
joining the cult. Like
Yeah, I think so. I think so. He's trying to evangelize Danny into joining the Children of the Corn cult.
yeah. So the dad of Danny,
Yeah.
whose name is John.
John. He's a journalist.
He's a journalist and he's continuing to investigate this story. So he's kind of looking for his next big break. He
Yeah,
sort
he
of
thinks. Yeah.
yeah, he like sort of got kicked out of like some good job he had and now he's like writing for tabloids, but like he wants to be like a legitimate journalist.
Right.
So he goes and he's looking into this story, right?
He's really invested. He decides to go talk to the old lady that you mentioned at the
Yeah.
start, whose husband died 15 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and she's trying to move her house. She's trying to leave the town. She's going to take her house with her. So her house is like elevated. It's like on jacks, right?
Yes.
Or whatever you would call those.
Yes.
And she's being harassed by the local Children of the Corn harassing her. They very rudely put a cross on her house. They drew a cross out of what looks like shit. I think we find out what it is later on, but it looks like poop. But it's not. And our main character has this knack for showing up right when things are always happening. Like he's always in the right place at the exact right time. So of course he shows up in time to sort of see this argument go down. And he touches the poop cross that's on her wall and rubs it on his pants. And that's important for later on, even though it's not important at all.
No.
But they make a point to show that he rubs it on his pants.
Okay.
And then the scene just kind of awkwardly ends.
But I do love that this lady's got her house up on, like you said, jacks. Like she's her goal is to literally just leave the city or leave the town with the house just fully intact. Like she wants to put it on the back of a truck bed or whatever and wheel it out of town. And like she keeps getting surrounded by these like cult members, these kids, and they're kind of like the way that they appear and show themselves is they kind of look like they're trying to like they're like a cringy like high school band like trying to
yes
it
looks like a bad album cover.
Yes, and they're all like lined up kind of like with their height and they're kind of just standing like staring and there's like 6 of them. It's like a perfectly even number. It's really funny.
It's super funny. And then spoiler alert, in a couple of scenes she's gonna die. So but you can tell the director was like, oh shit, you can't just like show her being confronted by these guys and then the next scene be her dying. Like we can't do that. So they shove in a really awkward placed scene where the dad is like to his son John to Danny is like, you're a kid, you should be exploring this town and getting to know people, so go explore this town. And then Danny, the way that Danny decides to take his dad up on that offer is he like creepily watches the girl that he saw on the scooter bathe in like the local
in a waterfall
on the side of the road, and the water's like brown and gross,
and she's
and he just watches her.
She's just like
it's
in a
so
bikini.
weird.
She's like washing her hair in this waterfall. I'm like, wait,
she's
what?
in a bikini top and jean shorts.
Denim jean shorts.
It's insane.
Yeah, denim shorts.
And then she's like, what are you watching, stud? And like invites him to like,
and he's like, you
play
never
in the
seen
waterfall.
a girl before. He's like, I've seen a girl before. I'm like, okay, so I don't believe you that you've seen a girl before.
His eyes pop out of his head. He starts hitting himself over the head with a hammer and going like, "Aruga, aruga." And it's a whole great scene. And then they transition to a great scene. The first scene in the movie that I genuinely liked, where I was like, oh, other than the corn killing the people, which I love.
Yeah.
But I'll let you talk about it because I can tell you're excited.
Yes, I am excited because it was, just as you put it, kind of haphazard and random. She
Hmm.
lost her cat. So like all the hubbub is over, the reporter leaves, the kids are gone. She's back in her house and she's like, "Oh, where's my cat?" I'm like, "Cat, kitty, where are you, kitty?" Doing the whole thing, going outside, looking for the kitty, whistling. The kitty's under the house
Hmm.
because the house is elevated now. There's this
Hmm.
big crawl space under there. So she's crawling under there, looking for her cat, and she's like grabbing the cat. All the while, she's hearing sounds and looking around and seeing like the legs of the kids. The kids are up to
Yes.
something no good, and she's in a very vulnerable position being under this house that's like on jacks, right?
Yeah, yeah. Even though a light breeze could kill this woman, she's in an extra precarious situation than normal.
And I love, okay, something she says, and something it's like said a lot throughout the movie, and she calls these kids dirty little bastards.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
like, "You dirty little bastards," and that's like an insult that's hurled at these kids a lot throughout the movie, which I thought was really funny. Like, dirty little bastards or crazy bastards.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know, I'm sure listeners, you can tell where this is going. The kids let out all the jacks, and this poor old lady looking for her cat gets completely crushed by her home.
And I wrote down in here, she says before she dies, she yells, "What a world! What a world!"
Does
And
she
I was like,
really?
"Whoa, that's so weird,"
Wait,
because there
write
are
that down.
so many weird things that come back to Wizard of Oz for us on this
Yes.
podcast.
Well, I wrote
You know,
much like the Wicked Witch of the East.
well,
Right?
and
Yeah.
then later on we meet her sister, and her sister they call her Miss West.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
So
man,
it's like a straight up weird
I love
Wizard
that.
of Oz Easter egg in this
Yeah,
movie. It's so
because
weird.
she gets crushed, and it literally shows it like just her two legs are sticking
Right.
out from the
Even
house,
though they wouldn't
and
be,
she's
because
got
she was like in
no,
the
she's
center
like
of
in
the
the
house
middle
for
of the
sure.
house.
Yeah, definitely she was not on the
She
edge
had
of the
like
house.
socks and shoes on, and it just was
Yeah.
like squish.
It's just an homage, a blatant, a great homage to Wizard of Oz. And then again, going with the weird tonal shifts of this movie, now it's back to romance time between Danny and the girl's name's Lacey.
Lacey.
I'll start saying her name. Her name's Lacey, and their romance is like incredibly hollow and unbelievable, and they're immediately in love. And also
It's
the audio is so bad in this scene. You can tell that like it was windy outside, or the river was louder than they thought it was going to be. So they overdubbed all the audio, so it's just like their mouths are moving, it doesn't match up, and they're just like, "Oh, Danny, I'm so glad that you're here in Henningworth. My parents are dead."
yeah.
Because her
So we
parents are
find
dead.
out. Well, and we find out in this scene that she was from Gatlin. So originally, she's from the town that took place, or all the murders took place with the kids,
Hmm.
but she just happened to leave before all that happened.
Yeah.
And her parents are dead, but they were not murdered by the kids. They died in a car accident.
And I know what you're thinking. How is this going to come back to matter later on in the movie? And I'll just spoil this for you right now. None of it matters. She could have parents, and it wouldn't change the movie at all. She doesn't need to be an orphan. It's so
No,
weird.
she needs to be an orphan, so she's free to leave with Danny at the end of the movie, Tyler.
That's true. That's true, because she does literally ask
Don't
Danny,
you know
"Will you
anything
take me
about
to New
romance?"
York City with me when you leave?"
Yeah.
Even though she just met him, she asks this in this scene.
She wants to leave.
And then we're in church all of a
We're
sudden.
in church. Oh boy, did we miss being in church.
Oh boy, did we. These kids move fast. The children of the corn go to church. And okay, listen, there's one thing that we've alluded to this, but I want to just kind of say it more definitively now. One of the things I hate about the first Children of the Corn is that all the kills are super boring. People just get stabbed, or like they get hit with a sickle. It's all very dull.
Mm-hmm.
I got to give this movie some credit. The kills are really fun.
Yes.
We've already talked about two really fun ones.
Uh-huh.
And the fun kills just continue. And this one defies all like logic and understanding of what's even possible in the Children of the Corn universe. Like, it doesn't even make sense what happens in this scene. It's crazy.
I feel like the writer of this movie had a bunch of random ideas in like a hat and just pulled them out and was kind of like, "I'll put that in," or was like rolling a dice with like
Yeah.
a bunch of different like ways that people can die, like mythological ideas, like
Weird government
magic.
conspiracies, because we go
Yeah.
to conspiracies later on about, and mythology and prophecies
Yeah.
and all these other things that come up
Yeah.
later on. Also, I'm going to agree with you, but I'm going to add one detail to your theory. I think somebody put a bunch of ideas in a hat, and they knew what the ideas were going to like mean and translate to, and then somebody else, it was like a game of like someone else picked the things out of the hat and had to guess what they thought the things were supposed to mean. And what I mean by that is like, this scene, somebody gets killed with a fucking voodoo doll. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. We'll talk more about it in a second, but the guy in church gets killed with a voodoo doll. And I've seen like voodoo dolls in the past that are like made of like corn husks. Like that's like a thing, like dolls, like creepy dolls that are made of corn husks. But it's not. It's just like a wooden doll. And I swear to God, when the person wrote that down, they were like, yeah, it's going to be like one of those corn husk dolls. You know, like whoever directs this movie will know what I mean.
Children of the Corn.
Totally. And everything else in the fucking movie is made of corn. And then it's like the director was like, I don't know, just get like a piece of wood, make it look like a guy, and that's the voodoo doll. Like it's like just doesn't even connect in any way. And like, why do the kids have voodoo powers? I don't know.
It's such a funny scene because the reverend or whatever who's giving the sermon, his sermon is like so fire and brimstone-y, and the kids are like sitting in the back row, and it's Micah, the leader of the cult, holding onto this wooden doll, like you said, with like a carving knife. Right. And I don't did we know who the guy who was murdered was?
No, I have no idea who this guy is that they kill.
Yeah, the background.
They choose him out of everyone in the church.
Yeah. And like for a very gruesome death, he starts carving away at this doll, at this like figure's like head and ear, and this guy's sitting in church listening to this sermon, and he starts like coughing or like sneezing, or like blood is just running out of like his face, and it's such a bloody death.
It's crazy.
And he just like dies. It causes this whole commotion.
And it's to the point where by the end of the scene, I'm sorry for those of you who are listening to this and not watching the video, but it's to the point where you can obviously, he has like tubes in his sleeves that are shooting blood out, and he's holding them to his face, and you can just see blood. The blood is coming out of his face, out of his sleeves onto his face so hard that it's like going up like a ramp up his cheeks and like flying off his face.
Yeah, it's very bloody.
Outrageous.
Yeah,
and it's so funny, and I was laughing hysterically during
I
this
was
entire
dying
scene.
too. I was dying.
And then that guy just dies, and the church is so ambivalent to this. They don't even react until he's basically about to like die. Like they don't react at all. It's so weird. And so then he dies. And I don't know who he is or why he died.
No.
And then we're at a school. Because this movie just is like never going to rest. So now we're at school.
I'm so happy we went. It's back to the school in Gatlin. Where
back to the school in Gatlin.
Corn is everywhere. Corn is pouring out of the doorways, out of the lockers. It's all over the floor. Any type of thing or surface or place you could put corn and corn stalks, there was corn.
This is also where we meet the best character in the movie for me. I love this guy so much. He unfortunately is the butt end of a lot of racist jokes, but the actor is incredible.
Yeah,
and the character is actually interesting. Dr. Frank Redbear, who is a Native American professor who lives in the area, and he's just like this cool, chill dude. He's like super relaxed and calm, and he basically just like exposition dumps in the like most casual way ever some important details to our main character, the journalist man, about like what was going on at Gatlin, and like we learn information that we don't need to learn because we already know this, but it helps the main character kind of learn what's going on a little bit, right?
Yeah. And he's just like kind of rad. But yeah, like Tyler said, there's a lot of like racial stereotypes with him being a Native American, that it's just like you can't help but kind of roll your eyes at those.
But the actor does a great job, and the character is actually cool. It's a bummer that he's misused in this, but he's genuinely like the most interesting character I think we've seen in a Children of the Corn movie, aside from like Isaac or something maybe. Like
right.
He actually has like character. He's actually interesting, you know?
That's true.
So like then the dad learns some valuable information from him, and then he also sees that the stuff he rubbed on his pants earlier, remember the shit cross I was talking about? They added some ADR dialogue of like completely different audio of him saying like, it put a hole in my jeans, because it ate a hole through his jeans.
Wow.
Well, I guess we'll
Can
find out why
it?
later on. It like doesn't matter at all, but yeah, we kind of find out why later on. Also, again, because of the jarring nature of how this movie's made, the next scene also features the dad again in a completely different place, and he's yelling at his son Danny for doing literally exactly what he asked him to do, which is walk around the town and get to know people. He gets mad at him.
Yeah, doesn't want him hanging out with those kids, right? The kids of that town.
Yeah, which is like, why'd you send him out into the town then, dude? He's a kid. What do you think he's going to go do in the town other than try to hang out with other kids? And this also leads me to, in a movie that's just rife with general plot inconsistencies, here's one that really drove me nuts. The dad is treating this situation like, murders are happening in this town. Who could be doing them? And it's like, there's no conspiracy here. If you take a busload of
could be doing
serial killers and you put them in a town and then people start getting serial killed, I'm going to guess it's the dozen murdering children that you've injected. Let me ask you this. Have murders been happening in this town for a long time? Did they just start happening? Well, if they just started happening, maybe it's the fucking murderer kids that you put into the town. There's no conspiracy here.
But, you know, it would take some hard-hitting journalism to really uncover that scoop, you know?
I genuinely think that they caught this when they were making it, and they were like, oh, shit. There's no conspiracy here. It's going to be exactly what everyone thinks it is. Because eventually, later on, they do, I'm like a little spoiler for later on, they add a conspiracy, like for no reason that doesn't line up with the movie at all. And it's almost like they're like, this guy's useless if he doesn't uncover something. So let's just have him uncover, I don't know, this random thing we made up from the top of our heads. And we'll get there. But it's so like dumb. It's like, and it just like, you can just tell it's so like, everything in this movie was such an afterthought. Like nothing was really planned out at all.
Yes.
That's how
lazy.
It feels. Very lazy.
Lazy and wandering. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, well, this kind of leads us into the next death, which I also kind of loved.
Same here, but before the death even happens, the dad is a third scene in a row,
See,
and the dad is in a new location all of a sudden again. And that's how this gets set up. But go ahead from there.
Well, no, I was going to say, at this point in my notes, everybody, I just wrote, I made popcorn. So I made popcorn, and I just was kind of like, yeah, I'll just let some of this happen. And then I'll.
It's completely fair. So he goes to the coroner's office where they're doing an autopsy of, who cares? Someone who died.
Of the guy who died in the church.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. So
it's like, how could he have died?
And the reporters. And the reporters they found in the cornfield, I think, are there too.
Oh,
so they're doing an autopsy.
So all the dead bodies.
And the coroners, and the guy's like shaking down the coroner for like no reason. The main character's shaking him down. And the coroner's acting really shady, so then he shakes him down even more.
He's acting shifty for sure. With good reason. Because after the reporter leaves, turns out the town, so like the sheriff, the reverend, the coroner, etc., they're all in on this conspiracy to cover up these murders, cover up the killing, kind of brush it all under the rug, in an effort to like make money. Right?
We'll get to it, but essentially
we don't know yet.
All we know is that there is a cover up happening in Hemingford.
Yes.
But the fact that there's a cover up happening in Hemingford has nothing to do with this guy dying, to be clear.
I mean, they're mad at him. The
kids don't have anything to do with the cover up, which we learn later on. They just kill him because the movie needs somebody to die next.
They're just culty.
The way they kill him is great, though.
Okay, the way they kill him is probably anyone who has like a fear of needles' worst nightmare.
Yeah, definitely.
He gets surrounded by these kids. Again, they appear as like a cringy, like weird band. have syringes, and they just like stab him over and over again.
Yeah.
The series of syringes. I think the final blow is like a knife, right?
They get him with a knife at the end.
Yeah, at the very end, but they really put in the work with the needles.
And then a girl with a creepy doll puts a lollipop in his mouth, and they leave him to die on the floor. This, I will say this for this movie, the first one, we accused the first one of being absolutely not scary at all, and this one's also not scary at all, but this is the scariest scene, I think, between the two movies.
I think some of the deaths were kind of, like scary. I don't know, bloody and like horrific,
And then, no joke, the literal next thing that happens is John goes back to the bed and breakfast and just has sex with the owner of the bed and breakfast. And it's so sweaty. It's like they just poured them with a garden hose before they started having sex. It is bizarre how sweaty they are. Like, I was worried about them. Like, I was worried that they were going to get dehydrated.
It must be really hot in Nebraska. We wouldn't know. We've never been there.
So the movie, I did a little research. The movie was filmed in North Carolina, and that makes a lot of sense when you think about how humid it is there, and like how different it is from the Midwest and stuff. Okay, so if that awkward sex wasn't enough for us, the basic like next thing that happens is there's like a weird random scene where Danny kind of like goes into the cornfields and sort of like kind of implies that he's going to join the children of the corn. But then the very next scene also has Danny in it, and it's like him on a date with Lacey, and like then they start making out in the cornfields with each other, and it looks like they're about to have sweaty sex, but they don't have sweaty sex.
Yeah, good thing. And all of this leads to a discovery.
Well, there's two discoveries. They find bodies in the cornfield. These two lovers find bodies in the cornfield. Is that the discovery you were going to say?
Oh, dang. I loved that. They were, oh man, it was so classic. They were like making out on top of each other, and then somebody jumps and they're like, oh, like, what is that? And then like he pulls out whatever it was like under her back or whatever, and it's a hand, like
it's a like hand.
A cut off hand.
Right.
And they throw it and like scream. Oh man, that was good.
It was great. So that's the first discovery, and then the second discovery is the big conspiracy that we've been alluding to this whole time, which is Dr. Frank Red Bear and John uncover that last year's harvest of corn has toxins in it, and they've been mixing it in with the corn they've been selling, and they've been selling it to the public. And guess what? The corn, the toxin in it, that might be the reason why the kids are getting violent and murderous.
Oh my God. It might cause madness. It might cause hysteria. It might cause violence.
Okay, this is the stupidest subplot ever. Because we know, you and I, we know about the entity living in the cornfield. We've seen the first movie, and we've seen that Micah is clearly possessed, not by drugs.
Fell through dimensions.
Totally. So it's the stupidest subplot ever. This isn't why the kids are killing people. And we know that as the viewers. It's so odd that they shoved this into the movie. It doesn't end up paying off at all. And it doesn't tie back to anything. It's also just like factually incorrect. Like, that's not what's happening here. They are possessed by an evil spirit. It's weird. It's weird that they did this.
Maybe we are all poisoned by this ergot whatever, and like maybe it's true all along.
Maybe. The toxin on the corn, by the way, is the acidic stuff that he put on his pants that ate through his pants, and it was the cross they're putting on the lady's house. That's the tie-in.
And it's like a mold, and it's ergot. It's like what they say, or what people theorize, like during the Salem witch trials. They think like the wheat had that, and that's what made people think like, or at least people were witches and whatever.
Right. If there weren't overt supernatural things in this movie, it would be a fun route to go down, that maybe they're all just like hallucinating this. But because we know that there's like an actual like magic happening, I felt like all of this was pointless. Like it's a fun idea, but it doesn't really fit the movie to me.
And then those psychic abilities, those magic abilities are immediately like we're thrown into them right away, right after this
Mm-hmm.
scene.
Yeah.
When we see the kids again back in town,
Yeah.
they're like on Main Street in town, and
Yeah. Yeah.
they're
Yeah. Yeah.
walking
This is
behind
great.
an old lady. Is she the sister of the woman who
Yes.
was crushed?
Yes.
Okay,
Miss West, I
I
think her
think
name
I
is.
didn't even make that connection, which is kind of funny. They're walking behind her, and she's in a chair, in like a power chair.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Like electric powered wheelchair or something.
yeah, and somehow they like hack into her chair, and so they have the power. I think it's Micah, right? It's not all of them, but
Yeah. It's
Micah
Micah.
has
Yeah.
like the power to control her chair. And like I said, they're on Main Street, they're by a busy road. And the way that they're showing us this is happening is they're showing like it literally happened, but then they're
Right.
showing across the street. We have this different view of the scene, and it's a game of bingo. And they're playing by like these big windows, and through the window across the street is the kids and the lady in the wheelchair. Um, and they're playing bingo. Oh my God. So the chair goes rogue,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But not really goes rogue. It's Micah.
Right. Yeah.
And he controls the chair to go right into the street, right in front of a big truck, semi truck. Right. And it crashes into her. And she flies through the window of the bingo game in her chair.
Yeah, through this like thick ass pane glass window that's like out front of the storefront.
Dude, and they totally missed, like, the writing in this could have been way better. They totally missed the line, like somebody had won the bingo round and like stood up to start like saying bingo and didn't say bingo. They said something else, something dumb. The lady crashes through the window. The whole accident happens. Then somebody stands up and goes, bingo? I'm like, no, guys, no. That's how you're supposed to do
What
it.
is this movie, dude? What is this movie?
Bingo?
I will say, if there's one scene you should go on YouTube and look up, you should look up this lady getting hit by the truck and flying through the window. It's the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. It was my favorite part of I was laughing. I was howling when this happened. It was so funny. I wanted them to show her get hit by the truck so bad, and then they did, and then they just topped it by having her go through the window. It was like I was watching Jackass. I was laughing so hard. It was amazing.
Oh my God. It was pretty good. Yeah, if there isn't already like a compilation of the deaths from this movie on YouTube, like there really should be, because the deaths are very funny, are very laughable.
Then we go back to the conspiracy plot line. The sheriff of the town is in on it. He catches our main character, John, and Dr. Red Bear kind of, snooping around the evidence, and he ties them up, and he's gonna run them over with a tractor. And even though the tractor is like, or whatever, like whatever it is,
Columbine or something.
Yeah. And even though it's like 50 yards away from them, and he could just drive it over them and kill them, or just shoot them, another option. Instead, what he does is he just puts like a corn stalk into the gas pedal so that it'll drive itself, and then he just leaves. So there's no way this could go wrong. I know corn is literally involved in everything in this movie, but it's like, so then of course they just get away and don't die.
But it's so funny because it's totally like the very last second they happen to roll away. They're trying to do this move where they're like tied up back to back, and they're trying to like stand up, and they cannot get it. And they're just like, okay, like roll towards me, and they roll like 3 times, and they're safe. So they're fine. They survive.
And so then you're kind of like, well, okay, what interesting thing are they going to do with this conspiracy now? Like, what's going to happen now? Like, you've got to, I'm sure they'll do something really, no, the kids just lock all the adults in the house and burn the house down in the next scene, and all those conspiracy people die, and that plotline just ends.
Yeah.
So it was there for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It didn't contribute anything.
The kids had to like outscare the conspiracy theory.
Yeah,
storyline.
That's essentially what happens. Is like, even though these things aren't really tied, like to the characters themselves, like the kids don't know about the corn being tainted. Or okay, that's not necessarily true. We kind of find out that he who walks behind the rose is maybe trying to get like retribution for the fact that they've like tainted the corn. So there is like some connection there. But it's really weak. It's really weak. All the conspiracy people just die. The house gets burned down. They all die inside the house. That's what happens next.
They die, and then we kind of again. Tyler said this is like just the exact same movie as Children of the Corn. So naturally, our like main adult like character woman is kidnapped by the kid.
Yes, the woman going to the bed and breakfast.
They're gonna sacrifice her.
And Lacey also gets kidnapped.
Yes. Okay. Well, obviously, both the ladies have to get.
They both get kidnapped. There's chanting and torches, and they're in the cornfield, all the kids, and they're saying, "We are one. We are one." Because I think they're trying to make like Gatlin and Hemingford the same place, or I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very reminiscent of the first movie, like you were just saying.
Yes. Yeah. And Danny is there.
Yeah.
Danny shows up. And it's like, is he gonna save them? Is he not gonna save them?
Right.
The ladies, and
Lacey, as he's holding the machete over her to maybe kill her, she says, "I love you."
She loves him.
They've known each other for like a grand total. If we had to add up the hours they've known each other, it's probably 2.5.
I was gonna say like a generous 12 hours, maybe.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, of course she loves him. And Danny does an incredible move with his machete. He raises it as if he's gonna, cut into Lacey, but really he slices the ropes that bind her wrists, and thus begins their great escape from this cult.
It's also facilitated by a rescue mission from the biggest homie on the planet, Dr. Frank Red Bear, who drives the tractor into the cornfield area and just starts trying to hit kids with the tractor.
Yeah, he's like, "I'm gonna run you fucking over, get out of the way." Yeah.
And John jumps off of it and full body tackles a kid, which is great. Knocks him down.
Okay, but then something happened that really bugged me, and suddenly a kid has a bow and arrow. Where the fuck did they get this bow and arrow?
Made of corn.
And he's he kneels down and he gets his shot and shoots Dr. Red Bear in the gut.
Yeah, it sucks. And he slumps over and you're like, is he dead? And then you're like, actually, I don't need to ask this. Of course he's not going to be dead. Of course he's going to save the day at the end. But it's okay. I'll suspend my disbelief for a second here.
And then we see again that sandbag under the dirt practical effect that we love from the first movie of he who walks behind the rose coming for them.
Yeah. And they're running, all of our main characters are trying to get away, and the cornfield is endless now, which I really like. That's a good, nice Stephen King kind of scary thing. All of a sudden the cornfield is infinitely large, so they can't get out. They keep ending up back in the center, and they're gonna die. Micah's acting his little heart out. He is screaming to the top of his lungs. He is getting he's getting covered with lightning all of a sudden. He's becoming this supernatural thing.
Dude, he turns into a devil. It's so creepy.
I wrote down he turns into a Halloween mask.
yeah.
And
or
then,
a vampire from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yes.
Yes.
And then Red Bear wakes up and is like, "Not on my fucking watch, kid." And he runs he runs over. Hold on, it's genuinely this funny to me. He runs over Micah with the tractor, or with the it's like a thresher. It's not a tractor. It's like a thresher. And as Micah's getting pulled into it, he kind of stops being a bad guy for a second, and he's like, "Oh wait, save me!" And then he just gets sucked in, and then they just have hamburger meat come flying out of the vent of the thresher. It is so funny, dude. It is the funniest shit ever.
Yeah, and I think what it was showing was he who walks behind the rose leaving his body, so he was unpossessed in his final moments of death, which is really sad.
Super sad and fucked up. Super sad and fucked up.
And then it's just this little spout, and it's just it's really gross. It's really gross.
And as a result of that, the cornfield lights on fire, just like the first movie.
Gotta finish with a bang.
Yeah, yeah, and the fire probably, I think what they're trying to imply is that maybe it killed the he who walks behind the rose. It didn't work last time, so I sort of doubt it worked this time.
No, yeah.
But and then it's like then this movie, dude. Then four people who barely know Frank Red Bear burn his body. You know, I'm sure he didn't want his family members or friends or loved ones or close people in his life to be there for a funeral. Burial. They just burn his body for him because he dies. He succumbs to his wounds rather, and that's like, and then like, it's like they just drive away. Then they just drive away, into the sunset.
The like two couples, so the father son, and then they're like girlfriends, I guess,
right,
decide they're gonna get out of Dodge and go back to New York.
And there's one more scene, and it is such a bummer that they added this to the end.
It's a huge bummer.
It's such a bummer. They have like Frank Red Bear in the woods making like a painting on a rock of like them driving into the distance, wearing like, it looks like the clothes that you would buy if you were like a racist frat boy and you wanted to be like a quote unquote Indian for Halloween. It's like the outfit you would buy. It's like, so like, I don't know. Maybe, you know what? Maybe there's some significance to it, and I'm the one who's looking at it the wrong way. But to me, it was just like they just kind of make his character just like a cliched.
It was a total stereotype, like trope. Yeah. It wasn't. Yeah, this is the early 90s. Like they're not they're not like respecting indigenous cultures.
Not at all.
By any means.
And before he fades away, literal fades into nature, he says the final line of the movie, which I'm hoping you wrote down because I forgot to.
Oh, you know I did.
What's the final line of the movie?
This signifies that the spirit will part the corn and let through one who finds the truth within himself.
What? What does that have to do with anything that's happened in this movie?
I had to replay it like 7 times because I'm like, wait, huh? Wait, how did that go again? This signifies that the spirit will part the corn and let through the one who finds the truth within himself.
I don't even know what that means or how that has anything to do with this.
No,
but
we can
that's
never
Children
know.
of the Corn 2, if everyone,
Yeah.
if you were wondering, that's the movie. We saved you a lot of trouble on this one. Let's talk about our feelings about Children of the Corn 2. We've been kind of implying them throughout, as always, but let's get into the real meat of it. Steph, what were your thoughts on? What was your impression of Children of the Corn 2?
Oh boy. I mean, it was hilarious. There were literally moments where I was just like cackling out loud because it was just so funny.
Yes.
But like, because it was terrible. The writing was lazy. It was sloppy. It was haphazard. Nothing was like, it was, not good.
No. Yeah. It won me over. By the end, it won me over. Once the death started happening really steadily, it kind of won me over, and I was sort of having fun. But I still don't think, similar to the first one, that it really, for me, is a so bad it's good, like rewatch it and laugh with your friends movie.
Yeah, I'm the same.
I think it was a worse movie than the first one in as far as like technical filmmaking goes. I think it was worse than the first one. I think I like it more than the first one because it's a little bit more fun.
Yeah.
I think I wrote in my notes, it's a step in the right direction, but it's still it's a very small step in the right direction. It's still not quite what I want these to become. I'm hoping by the time we are reviewing Children of the Corn 12, they are pure schlock and it's just wall-to-wall laughs. But so far, it's a little too dull and a little too uninspired to really be so bad it's good for me.
Yeah. Totally.
So let's do our 3 things we liked about it, 3 things we didn't like about it. You go ahead and start. What are the 3 things about it you liked?
I liked the sweet, beautiful corn.
Of
that
course.
comforted
So
me
much
from
corn.
start to finish.
A wonderful use of
Um,
corn.
I like that, and this was something I liked about the first movie. They stuck to that kind of vibe of like creepy kids choir
Hmm.
singing in like the background and the soundtrack, which I think is
Hmm.
fun and kind of, you know, adds to the horror, if you will, of murderous children.
Yeah.
Um,
Although I will add that when there's not a choir in the music is not very good.
it's terrible. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I know. Maybe maybe the budget. And then I liked how I liked the killings, the deaths
Yeah.
were pretty funny.
They were on. That's on my list too. One of mine was the killing, so that's a good segue, I guess, into mine. Like the killings, in this movie, one of the things we critiqued the first one for was there's no originality or creativity to the killings. It's kids in rural, Nebraska killing people. There's so much you could do with that. And this movie had a lot of fun. It used the setting really well, and it used the fact that they're kids really well. Like I liked that the little lollipop with the guy dying. It's like a little kid did it. Like that's scary, and the house being dropped on the lady and the corn killing people. The kills were much more appropriate for the kind of movie I was watching than in the first one. So I agree. That was one of my top three. Literally, I devoted an entire one of my three good things to the old lady getting hit by the truck and flying through the window.
You're
It
kidding.
was amazing. I wish that was if the movie was 90 minutes of just that happening over and over again, that would have been enough.
You would have loved it.
I'm gonna give my last bonus point here to my main man, Dr. Frank Red Bear, who is this actor is saddled with this kind of racist stereotype character, and decides to just play it straight, play it really well. Mad kudos to the actor for actually like elevating this character out of a bad, what the director clearly wanted him to be, which is like this like negative stereotype, and instead like giving him a little bit of like he's kind of cool, he's kind of charming, good character. So I'm gonna give a full point just to that guy.
Yeah, and I kind of liked on that note, like I don't think we mentioned he's like a doctor of anthropology at the
Yeah,
local university,
it's
and
cool.
like all the townspeople are like openly racist towards him. Like the sheriff and that whole encounter, they were like, "Oh, you're so woo woo" or whatever, and he's like, "Dude,
Hmm.
like I'm a man of like science, like
Yeah,
fuck off." So yeah, that was
he's
fun.
great. He's cool, and it's like despite their best efforts, I still liked him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and that nicely segues me into one of the things I didn't like about the movie, which was that racial stereotype of
yeah,
Native Americans.
yeah.
It's
Too
just
bad.
like
Too bad.
punching down. Like it's just
Hmm.
it's lame. It's totally not cool.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And was totally unnecessary in this movie.
I
Like
agree.
you've been saying, it was pointless. Like they already had a weird conspiracy. They already had
Hmm.
the murderous children with the
Hmm.
culty thing. Like they didn't need that like mysticism, like
Mm-mm.
stereotype thing that yeah, they didn't need
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I agree. Good on the guy for doing the best he could with what they gave him, but kind of gross and unnecessary.
Hmm.
Yeah, no pushback from me on that. What about your other two bad things?
Yeah, and then I've mentioned it a bunch before. I think like the story itself was really bad.
Yes, terrible.
The like everything was so wandering and just kind of felt random and like there it was like they had to have it all. Like they had to have the romance, they had to have the intrigue, they had to have the
Hmm.
suspense,
Hmm.
they had to have the horror, they had to have it, and it's like you got to pick your lane and just like stay there because this is
Yeah.
not working for me.
No, it's all over the place, man. It's all over the place. I agree. Yeah.
What about you? What were yours?
Mine are similar. Like I just didn't like. Mine could all be one, honestly. 'Cause, like I didn't like
Yeah.
this. I didn't like that the poison corn subplot. I didn't like the pacing and the editing and the frenetic nature of the movie. And I didn't.
Hmm.
And I also thought it was pretty boring until it wasn't anymore.
Yeah, I know. It was
So
boring.
like yeah, like boring until the schlock started, and then it was great, and I was happy. But
Boring
like
until the lady gets hit by a semi truck and
then
thrown through
it
the
was,
window.
I was literally like white knuckling how excited I was from that point forward. But yeah, just I agree. Like really like this. It's just needlessly confusing, needlessly derivative. Just like, yeah, just like there's nothing to this. It's like I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I didn't like it. I was won over by the end. Like I said, like I liked it more than I thought I was going to by the end, but like I will never see this again.
Yeah. So we laughed. We were bored. Some of us made popcorn in the middle of it, and missed some of it, but that was okay.
Yeah. And people seem to have a similar reaction to this as we do. So I did, my typical thing. I did a little research on like what was the reaction to this. And let me pull my notes up here. I saved some things. Sorry, I should have had this open and ready to go. Yeah, so the general consensus of it was it got generally negative reviews. And this was made like 8 years after the first one. Like 1992 versus 1984. It's a long time since it's a tall order to think that people would be interested in this, 8 years later, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like that was the case. The general consensus from people was that's uninspired, it's predictable, definitely predictable, really easy to know what's going to happen. Lots of plot holes and logic issues. Wasn't very scary. The performances weren't good. That was like a lot of the feedback I was reading online. However, there are a contingency of people who do see this as a so bad it's good movie and are kind of into it. So it's yeah. This has a 30% on Rotten Tomatoes. The last one had 38%. So yeah, that feels about right to me if I'm being honest.
That does feel right.
But here at Pod on the Cob, we don't care what people think about the movie. We don't care if the movie's good, bad, whatever. The only thing we care about, I don't know how many times I have to say this to you listeners, how many times I have to remind you that the only thing we care about is how well the corn was utilized in the movie. And we do that with our Cobb rating, which is a 1 through 5 scale, 5 being corn bursting from the seams, and 1 being barely any corn in it. So Stephanie,
yes. This is a very prestigious rating.
Oh yeah. System. This is like an Oscar. It's like getting an Oscar. Yeah. So Steph, I ask of you, what Cobb rating did you give to Children of the Corn Part 2: The Final Sacrifice?
Well, I gave it the only thing that any reasonable Pod on the Cob host could give this movie, a 5 out of 5 Cobs.
It's just 5 out of 5. There's no other way to say it. It's 5 out of 5. This movie might have more corn than the first one. That's how crazy the use of corn in this is. They use corn to shove down gas pedals on cars so they'll drive without somebody in the driver's seat. They use corn as bow and arrows, spears, knives. It's in
corn is just sentient and like murders a couple of people too.
It literally murders people. It's in every scene. This movie, I said it during Children of the Corn Part 1. I'll say it again here for Part 2. I do not know how we will top this as far as a 5 out of 5 corn film can be. It might not have been the best movie ever, but it certainly was the corniest film we've watched. Yeah.
Watch Children of the Corn 2: The Final Sacrifice or don't. It just is totally up to you. We just gave you the full rundown. We couldn't be happier to be doing this. We want to keep doing it. If you want to support the show, you can rate us on any podcasting platform you're listening on. Give us those 5 stars. You can share us with your friends, your family. Just engage with us on social media. We love you and we love this.
Yep. Couldn't say it better myself. So I guess I'll just say keep cobbing on.
Bye.